Okay, good evening, students. Welcome to the grade 11 Computer Applications Technology class. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I know it's late and you guys have probably had a long day, but I appreciate you guys being here and I hope that this lesson would be useful. So last week, what we had a look at is we had a look at Microsoft Excel, and we were going through a lot of different functions and just kind of doing a bit of revision work. What we are going to be doing today and for the rest of this week is we are going to be looking at HTML. So we are going to be looking specifically at how to create your own website and how to set up an HTML file so that you guys do get familiar with the work. Just checking if my audio is on. Can you hear me there, is it? Okay, great. Sorry. Okay, so thank you. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at HTML and yeah, we're going to be looking at specifically the programs that you're going to be using as well as some problem solving relating to HTML. Okay, so HTML, what we are going to look at today is we are going to look at the basic features of an HTML file. We are also going to look at the program used to create an HTML. Now, you may or you may not have the program already. If not, I will post a link that you can follow in order to download the specific software that you need in order to use or create HTML files. So just to start us off, what does HTML stand for? And as you can see there on the screen, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Now, HTML is a programming language that you use, like we've been saying, to create websites. Now, there are quite a few different programming languages that we get. Some of those include Python, some of those include Java and JavaScript. So HTML is one of the programming languages, and it's the only programming language that we use in the CAT curriculum. So what we do is we start you off here in grade 11 with HTML, and then it will continue and it is tested in the matric final as well. So it is important for you to understand this. When you are completing your matric PAT as well, you have to create your own website. So if you can get a good foundation on HTML, then it's going to massively benefit you in matric as well. So like we said, HTML, what is HTML? It's a markup language used for creating web pages. It is used to create electronic documents called pages or web pages that are displayed on the World Wide Web. Now, it's important for you guys to understand right at the beginning of the year, when we create an HTML file, it doesn't automatically just go onto the web. What you have to do is you have to create your file and then you'd have to save it or register that with an e-host. And the e-host will then provide you with a domain name, which will give you, for example, www.google.co.za. So once we create an HTML file, like I said, it's not automatically going to be put on the web for everyone to see it. So in terms of safety for now, you're 100% safe and able to create HTML files without anybody viewing them. How does HTML work? HTML consists of a series of short codes typed into a text file by the site author. Now, the site author is us. We are the ones that are creating the site. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a series of short codes and we are going to type them into a text-based program. Another text-based program that we use is Microsoft Word. However, the difference between Microsoft Word and the program that we're going to be using is that it is plain text, which means that it can simply be put onto a website. The series of short codes that we are going to be typing into our program are called tags. Now, the term tags is extremely important to know as well, because throughout your curriculum in grade 11 and grade 12, you're going to have to know what tags to use in order to create certain aspects of a website. So once you have created these tags, the text is then saved as an HTML file, and I'll show you how to save it as an HTML file as well. Also extremely important, if you don't save the file as a .html file, then it will not work. Your browser will not recognize it, and it won't be able to open on, for example, Google Chrome. Now, your extension that you use for HTML is .html. An example of another extension that we get, let's say for Microsoft Word, is .docx. For Excel, the extension is .xlsx. And essentially what that extension is it's telling the program, or it's identifying the program in which the file must be opened in. If you have a .docx, it must be opened up in Microsoft Word. If you have a .xlsx, the file must be opened up in Excel. If you have a .accdb, the file must be opened in Access. So a .html file will be able to be opened by the likes of Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. This is a basic example of what an HTML file looks like. Now you'll notice that the program we are using over here is Notepad. Notepad is a simple text editor that creates plain text files. So no formatting over there. All the font is always the same. It's a plain text file. And this is an example of what an HTML file looks like. You'll notice that you've got the arrow brackets over here. And these arrow brackets are referred to as your tags. So you'll notice you've got an HTML tag over here, a body tag, and a couple of other tags within this file. This is a more complex example of what a HTML file looks like, and you'll notice that the program is slightly different over here. The program over here is called Notepad++. So you get two text editors which you are able to use, Notepad or Notepad++. What I recommend using is Notepad++. It's an excellent software program that you are able to download for free, and it provides you with color codes as well, and there's some basic settings that you can use in Notepad++ that are a lot more user-friendly than just Notepad. Okay, so the HTML file. The HTML file is not your final product. This is important to recognize as well. So for example, if you create a Microsoft Word document, that would be your final product. If you create an Excel spreadsheet, that would be your final product. However, when you create an HTML file, this is not essentially your final product. Your final product is viewed on the web browser. So you create a file, the file will then be saved on your computer in any one of the folders that you choose, and then once opened, it will be your final product. Your final product will be able to be viewed. Once you have saved the HTML file, you'll be able to open it in a web browser. Okay, what I'm just going to do here quick is I want to show you just an example of a website. If I've got a website open over here. If you go onto any website, any single website that you want to visit, so I'm just going to go to Google. So I've opened up Google over here. Now, you'll notice that this is obviously a website. So I've opened it up in a web browser. The web browser that I'm currently using is Chrome. If you go onto any website and you hold down the control key and you press the U button, you'll notice that another tab opens over there. Now, this tab is opened and it's showing you that this is an HTML document, that this web page was created with HTML over here. You'll notice that it's doc type HTML over here, and it's got a whole lot of code that has been created in order to make this website. Now, this is extremely complex, and it's not what we are going to focus on, but this is just an example of how a website is created and the file, what it kind of looks like in the background. So your final product looks like this. However, the background to create it looks like this. So if you go to any website, press Control and then the U button or the U key, you'll notice the code that was created in order to make that final product. And like I said over here, it was made using HTML as well. Sorry, let me just find my place over here. Okay, so the programs that you could use to create a website, like I said, Notepad. Notepad generally comes with Microsoft Suite, I think, or it's generally built in as part of the operating system, some of the utilities. So Notepad might already be available on your computer, which you can then use. However, if it's not available and you would like to download a specific program to create a website, what I recommend is using Notepad++. And Notepad++ looks like this. This is the little icon. You've got a chameleon that's walking on a pencil, and it's a really, really useful program that you can use. Oh, I've got the link over here for you guys. Okay, this is the link that you can use in order to download the program, https://notepad++.org and downloads. And you just have to follow the setup wizard and then set it up. It doesn't take too long, and it's a free download, and it doesn't take up too much space either, which is great. So if you want me to put that into the chat, I can put it into the chat for you, and then you can download that if you want. Let me just do that quick. Yeah, this is the download. If you want to download Notepad++, that's the link that you can follow over there into the chat, and then, yeah. Okay, so HTML uses markup tags to describe how the text on the web page should be formatted. Now, you will be familiar with a lot of things in HTML. However, there are some basic differences which we need to look at once we start getting into HTML, once we start looking at the program. Some of the things that we use in Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel to format our text include making text bold, creating headings within a Word document, underlining certain words, making certain words italics. All of those things are also done within an HTML file. However, we need to basically create the tags in order to tell the program which text needs to be formatted in a certain way. And what we're going to do throughout this week is we're going to look at various tags that we can use. And we're also going to look at how to set up those tags and then how the website changes as we format it. Because what happens in the text editor, and I'll show you just now, is that the text doesn't automatically change once we type it or once we put the tag in. The text only changes on the final product, which is the website. Okay, so each tag is different and it is enclosed with an angle bracket like we saw in the pictures in the previous slides. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up Notepad++, and I'm just going to show you a couple of examples of how to create your website and how to navigate around the program. Okay, so like I said, Notepad++ looks like that little chameleon on the pencil. And if you open up the program, this is exactly what it looks like. And so you'll notice it looks slightly different to, Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all of those. And obviously that's because it's not in the same suite, but it does have some similarities in that it's got space for us to type. However, you will notice that there's not much formatting that we need to do. So what you've got up at the top over here is you've got a little tab that says new one, and then obviously an X next to it. And this is the program or the project that we are currently working on. So essentially, this is the file that we are creating, and everything that we create goes inside this white space over here. If we would like to open up a new one, we just say File, New, and you'll notice now that we've got two separate projects that we can work on. If I wanted to open up another one, I could do another one over there, and I've got 3 projects that I'm currently working on now. Each one of those files are different, and each one of those files will be saved as a different file with a different name, and each one of those will be opened up differently and will open up differently within a web browser. A couple of things to just take note of: you can also open up, just like any other program, you can open up files from different locations over here, and you can save as over here as well, and you can rename, and you can load various sessions over here, and you can exit. Main thing that you really need to understand over here is this tab over here. You don't really have to know much about the editing tab, the search tab, view. If you'd like to go into that, you're more than welcome to. However, you won't be really required to do it in a test or in an exam. You basically just need to know how to format an HTML file. And once you know how to do that, you should be fine. Okay, we've got various other icons at the top over here. Again, for now, these aren't too important. Probably the main one over here is just new, open, and save over there. Those are the main ones that you need to know. Okay, so getting into creating an actual website, what we first need to do is we need to create what's called an HTML tag. So the first tag that we get is always going to be an HTML tag, and I'm going to tell you why now. Okay, and you'll notice that as soon as I start typing here in Notepad++, this little button goes red, which means that I have not saved it. As soon as I save it, it will go blue again. If I go back to my website over here that was created with HTML, you'll notice that this was created in a plain text editor like Notepad, and they've got a / doc type. Essentially what that's telling the web browser to do is it's telling it that the type of document that we want you to open now is an HTML document. The great thing about Notepad++ is that you don't actually have to type in that doc ! Doc type first. That only needs to be done in another program. Okay. And what we have at the top over here is an opening tag. And at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it right now, but there needs to be a closing HTML tag over there. Okay, there it is. This is your closing tag and an opening tag over here. And this is always the first thing we need to create within a HTML file. We need to create what's called an opening tag. This is our opening tag over here, and this is our closing tag over there. You'll notice the difference between the two. HTML at the front over here has no // and that one at the back over there has a // So that / represents the end of the document, and this opening tag over here represents the beginning of the document. Everything that you create within HTML needs to go within these two tags over here. You can't insert a word. Let's say I'll type in word over here. You cannot type anything. Well, I mean, you can type something over there, but essentially it's not going to be displayed on your website once you've created it. So what I'm going to do over here, I've just created a HTML document, a HTML file. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save it. So I'm going to click on the save button. And because I've never saved it before, it's going to ask me to save it as a specific name. The reason why that is because obviously I need to save something for the first time. And let's say I'm going to save it to my desktop. And I'll do it a Africa Team Geeks HTML. Okay. What I need to do then is I need to save it as all types over here, or hypertext markup language over here. So let's do hypertext markup language over here, and I'm going to save it as .html. So very important when you are creating a website that you do create it as .html. Actually, I'll just change this back to all types .html over there. So this represents now an HTML file over there. If you don't put in that HTML, your website won't work. Now, for you beginning with HTML, it's important for you to know that. However, when you get to like grade matric, they generally don't ask you to create your own HTML files. They generally give you HTML files that have already been created, and you basically just have to edit and format it. So it's important to know this. However, like I said, you won't necessarily be tested on this in your matric finals. Grade 11, they may test it. So yeah, good for you to know. So I've saved it now. I've chosen a location, the desktop. And one thing to notice over here is that currently the text is not highlighted. It's just plain black text. And I'm going to save it into my desktop over here. And you'll notice now that it is now highlighted, which means that it's a proper HTML file, and I can basically run it and open it up on a web browser. So I've got my opening tag and I've got my closing tag, my opening HTML tag and my closing HTML tag. As soon as I click on the HTML tag at the top or at the bottom, what I'd like to say, the partner tag is also highlighted. If I've typed it in incorrectly, so let's say I forgot the M in the closing tag over there, you'll notice that it doesn't highlight anymore. And that's, again, one of the nice features about Notepad++ is that it highlights the joining tags or the partner tags. There always has to be an opening tag and a closing tag. The opening tag representing the beginning of the document, and the closing tag representing the end of the document. Now, I mentioned the opening tags and the closing tags. The opening tags are extremely important for all the tags. There are, I can think of 2 tags currently that don't require an opening and a closing tag, where it's just one tag. However, most of the tags require an opening tag and then a closing tag. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this over here. And I'm going to go back now to my desktop. And you'll notice over here that I've got an Africa Teen Geeks file over here, which is an HTML file. And if I open it, let's just see, it will give me the option of say opening it in Google Chrome or Internet Explorer. So let's just choose Google Chrome for now. And you'll notice now that my website has opened as an HTML file, and you'll notice that the name is over there. The C drive is where the file is saved. Under the users, administrator, the network name saved under desktop, and then the file name of there, Africa Teen Geeks, HTML, and it's an HTML file. So basically, this means that my file has been created properly. However, you'll notice that there is nothing inside my website. I don't have any content in my websites. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my program over here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start creating some tags within the body, not within the body, within my HTML file. So I've got my HTML opening tag and I've got my HTML closing tag. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a structure for my HTML file. Now, it's really important to know this, just like, I guess, English, or I don't know if you guys take history, but when you are creating a document, a letter, a essay, you basically start with the introduction, your heading, then you get into the body, and then you get into the conclusion. Now, it's very, very similar in HTML. We have to start with the heading, and then we get into the body. Now, the heading over here is it also has a tag, and it's called head. It's got a head opening tag, and then a closing head tag as well. And that's essentially where everything within the title of or the main part of your file goes. Inside the head tag for now, we are going to put what's called a title tag, opening title tag, and a closing title tag. Now you'll notice that they all match up over here. HTML matches up with HTML, head with head, title with title. Again, if I had typed in a spelling mistake over there, like had instead of head, it is there, and you'll notice that they don't match up anymore. Now, your teacher may or may not explain this. It's really up to the user, but you can space out an HTML document however you want. So let's say, for example, I enjoy kind of seeing things spaced out instead of bunched up together. I can like put in I can enter spaces over here, and it's not going to affect my HTML document at all. What I could do is also could space it out over here so that things kind of line up. And I could do it over here as well. And here as well. I've also put out all of my documents or my tags underneath each other. However, you can create them next to each other as well. So like that and like that. Or like that and like that. It just depends on how you kind of like to structure your HTML documents. It's all up to you. So like I said, what I've done currently is I've created a HTML file, and I have created a head tag over here for my headings and a title tag over here for the title of my documents. And again, you'll notice that the tab over here is red, which means that it currently isn't saved, which is very, very important that you save your work over here. So I'm going to click save. And again, let's go back to my website over here. And what I'll do is, instead of opening and closing my websites every single time I save, all I can do is I can refresh it or reload the page, and then it will change. However, you'll notice that nothing has changed because I haven't really changed anything within my website yet. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a title for my website. So let's say I'm a huge Chelsea Football Club fan, so I'm going to put Chelsea FC, best team, and I'm going to save it over here. And you'll notice now, when I go back to my website, I just can't see it over there. I'm just going to load it a bit. I am going to change it up over there. You'll notice that the title over here has now changed to Chelsea FC. So, yeah. So the title has been created for my website. And I can change this up as many times as I want. I can change this to cats. And then I must save it. Remind it just to save it. If you don't save it, you will then, it won't change.
What's wrong?
So I've got cats over here, and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to reload it over here, and you'll notice that I've got cats over here. Okay, I'm going to change it again just one more time. To schools, reopen. And you can basically change it to whatever title you want. Save it. And then go back to your website over here. I'm just going to change it over here so you can see both of them over there. And then refresh the page, and you'll notice that the title has changed over there. So as I mentioned earlier, you get different sections, different parts of your HTML file. And the other section that you get is your body. And your body is basically where all the main contents of your website goes. So this is essentially just like the heading and the title and the upper part of your website. This is where all the contents of your website goes. So you'll create a opening body tag and a closing body tag over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the website to make sure that it is saved. And what I'll do over here is I'll create all of my my tags, which are going to include some of the headings, some of the paragraphs. And what we're going to do, especially tomorrow, is we're going to focus specifically on all the tags that we can use in grade 11. So we'll specifically look at all the HTML tags, the head tags, the title tags, body, and various formatting tags. And we'll look at each one of those and what each one of them does and how it performs within an HTML file. So this is just an example of how I would create it. I'm going to create H1 tag, and the H1 over here represents your heading. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to create a closing tag. Again, what you can do is you can put it underneath each other, or you can place it next to each other, whichever one you prefer. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to put Chelsea FC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go back to my website and load it over there. And you'll notice that on my website, Chelsea FC has appeared. So what we can start doing now is we can start manipulating our website, when we can start changing it however we want. We can start putting different backgrounds in. We can put pictures in the background. We could put pictures anywhere. We could align the text to the center, to the left. We could put paragraphs. We could start changing the fonts as well, the font color as well. We could change all of these things just to kind of match whatever we want, you know, and which is quite nice about like Notepad++ and creating your own websites. You start being creative with it, and yeah, it's quite nice to see, especially if you can get it right. So I'm going to change this up again, save it as the title, and then create it over there. Just as one, let's say I want to move this now, this Chelsea FC, I want to move it to the middle. Instead of being aligned to the left, I can align it to the center as well, or I can align it to the right. We cannot change anything over here, just as a note. I mean, I think you should know that, but we can't change anything actually on the website. So we can't go over here and highlight Chelsea FC over here and delete it. Nothing's going to happen. I can't go over here and change anything. Everything that gets changed on my website needs to be changed within the file that I'm creating. Now, just a reminder that I've got 3 files open over here. However, I'm only working on one. If you want to work on the other one, you're more than welcome to, but you must make sure that you are working on the correct one, and then obviously saving the correct one. And that file organization is also really, really important in HTML. So I'm just going to delete those other 2. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to try and center align that heading over there. What's nice about HTML or Notepad++ as well is when you start typing, let's say, for example, I want to put in the center tag over here. It starts giving you tags that you can use, that you could possibly need to use. And you'll notice that a lot of these tags come up. A lot of them we don't actually need to use, but eventually we will start using them in Matric. So for those of you that are really, really bad at spelling, kind of like me, it's really, really nice that you have got this option so that you don't kind of spell the words wrong. So I'm going to click on center over there. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to now refresh my page, and you'll notice that Chelsea FC moves to the middle of the screen, which is great. Now, what's really, really important, and a lot of students get it wrong, is the structure of HTML. If you don't get the structure right and you don't put the tags where they're supposed to be, your website is not going to work, and you're going to get really, really frustrated, and you're going to get really, really bothered by it, and you know, it's quite frustrating not being able to get it right. And what I suggest that you guys do is just to take it step by step. Even if you have to, align them separately. So you'll notice that my 2 HTML tags are kind of aligned up over here, and I've kind of given some space for my head tags over there, and also for my title tag, so I can see clearly where my head tag is opening and where it's closing. And then also for my title tag over here, I've put it around the main heading, so again I can see exactly where it is, and I'm not getting confused and trying to look for the title tag amongst all those other tags. So what I'm referring to is kind of this, is if everything's kind of like bunched up over here, which you know you can have if you're able to do that, and it's still going to work. It's not going to really affect your website. However, it is going to affect, you know, possibly making mistakes. So I've kind of changed everything over here, and just put everything in a straight line, which, as you can see, is a little bit unneat, and it gets a little bit tricky to kind of see, you know, where all your tags are. Obviously, like I said, Notepad++ highlights all of them, and you can kind of see where your errors are. However, what I would recommend you do is just kind of structure it in a way that allows you to see where all the tags are. So I'm going to save it again, and you'll notice that nothing's changed. But just for neatness sake and for eliminating errors, try and structure it in a way that helps you see where all the tags are. Okay, and you can kind of structure it however you want as well. Okay, you'll notice you're able to minimize kind of the screen, the tags as well. Okay, possibly as we get into this, I'm going to ask you guys to create your own websites by the end of this week. I think we have covered quite a lot of ground, a lot more than I was expecting today. I was kind of just expecting to give you guys the basics, but we have gone into tomorrow's lesson as well. But I think we've kind of making good progress, and I think it's kind of enjoyable to kind of do this section of work, although a lot of students don't enjoy it. Yeah, I hope that lesson kind of gave you a good introduction into how HTML works. What we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to focus on we're supposed to focus on the basic structure of an HTML file, but we've kind of already covered some of that. So we'll look at some of some of the tags in HTML that you get, and then we will, I'll probably try and give you guys a project that you can work on as well to start making your own website, which is quite cool. Guys, if you need to catch up in any of the lessons, please go to the YouTube channel. It is available. And if you need to email me with regard to any of the work that you don't understand, please email me aflint@newtonhouse.to.today, and I'll send you an email back. Yeah. Thank you very much for being here this evening. I hope you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time.